Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great, Eric. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Actually have a spring-like day here in February 4th here. It's almost 60 degrees out.
Yeah, we had the polar vortex go across the country, and that seems to be over, and hopefully we won't have another one this year.
Hopefully not.
But
I have cousins out in the Midwest that were absolutely frozen out in the Milwaukee area, and Chicago was like minus 25, minus 30 for a couple of days. I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah, there were parts of the Midwest, negative 30 with no wind chill, negative 60 with the wind chill.
Yeah, Minnesota. Wow.
Even the U.S. Postal Service went, nope, we're not delivering in this. And that doesn't happen all that often. So it was really cold. We're glad that's over. And hopefully, if any of our listeners were affected by this, they came through okay.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about getting organized. And we're talking about this, both your home, your business, yourself. Organization is a very important tool. And most of us waste a lot of time when we get disorganized, trying to find something, trying to remember something. So we're going to talk about the different ways to get yourself organized. And one of the things that I've actually done this in the past, but I came across a couple of mentions of it. It's fairly common. But you sort of have to trick yourself in your mindset. And in terms of work, the trick is to make yourself think you are on vacation next week. Because if you think about it, when you're in your office, you're going to be on vacation next week. You're cleaning the desk. You're getting everything organized so that when you come back, you don't have to deal with it. On the home side, it's the same type of trick, but rather than tricking yourself into thinking you're going on vacation, you're tricking yourself into thinking your in-laws are coming for a visit. Because nothing gets a house cleaner than having your in-laws come over. And I saw both of these tricks. And I have to say, I had never thought of the in-law trick before, but having just actually had my mother-in-law come for a 2-week visit, I can absolutely say it's true. We threw out more stuff. We cleaned more stuff before she got here.
Wow. And for some people out there, maybe having the in-laws come over for a week is an excuse for them to take a vacation while they're there. So it's a double.
But there you go. But so when you get yourself into those mindsets, the first thing most of us start doing is start cleaning. And the big trick that most of us fail to do, actually, is to say to ourselves when we look at something, yes, I am not going to need this. I am not going to use this. Let's throw it away. Because most of us tend to look at something and go, well, I might need that at some point.
Yeah, and one of the tricks there, if you're using like a filing system or basically putting papers in different spots or whatever, if you have a particular space where you have different troughs there for current stuff and for another thing, and you have different titles written down there, and if something is sitting there for more than a week without moving, chances are it's time to throw it out. But it's really, really important when you're getting papers in and so on and so forth, to sort them out and put them in a place where you're going to be working on them. If it's a priority, working on it today or tomorrow or whatever. And it's also the same thing when now that we're in this email world, to set up folders in your email files to do the same thing for you. I mean, you could have active, you could have pending and so on and so forth, but it's really, really important to be cleaning things out, because the bottom line is, whether it's your desk full of papers or whether it's your email file full of different emails, how much time do you waste just going through this thing time and time again?
Exactly. Organization is really about saving us time and saving us from stress, because that's another big part of it. Studies have shown being disorganized causes a lot of stress. And I want to be very clear about this. You can look at somebody's desk and it may look like a mess and yet be completely organized. When I worked in corporate, a couple of times this had happened where my desk was piles. It was just piles upon piles of paper. But when someone asked me, "Oh, do you have such and such?" I could get to any piece of paper in any of those piles in about 10 to 15 seconds. I knew exactly where every one of them was, because they were organized, but because I didn't have enough drawer space and I didn't have enough file space, it was messy. So there is a difference between, mess and organization. Ideally, you want to have enough drawer space, enough file space, enough shelf space, so that you don't have to resort to these messy piles.
Yeah, and again, it's really, really important when you get something in to act upon it right away. And if you can just open something up, act upon it right away, whether it's throwing it out or putting it in a place where you know you're going to check back on it and make that decision, it's really, really important to get your routine down. You talked about pretending you're going on vacation. The bottom line is, one of the reasons that you like to get everything done before you go on vacation is so you don't have the stress factor that you were talking about. Who wants to go on a vacation and worry about what they got to do when they get home? So
exactly.
Reason for doing this, and the bottom line is, every time you look at a mess, you get stress. They rhyme for a reason.
And you brought up an important point, and I think we've actually talked about this when we discussed time management. When something comes in, basically there should be, ideally, one of four things done. Either one, act on it immediately. Two, put it aside for reference. Three, delegate an action. Or four, throw it out. And you should be making that decision for each email, piece of paper, publication, whatever it is, as soon as it comes in, or at least have it done by the end of the day. You don't want things going to the next day.
Yeah, and if you do, here comes the stress, knowing that you're something tomorrow.
And by making that decision quickly, act on it right now, delegate it, throw it out. Those are usually the big three. Keeping something for reference, you should have, for email, you should have a separate folder. You should have a file cabinet of things that you keep for reference. But these should be things that are actual resources. Your reference folder is not I'll get to it later. It's information that you want to review in depth, but you don't have time to do that now. By the same token, you should review that reference folder before it gets too big. And if it does get too big, go through it and go, yeah, I didn't need this, and get rid of things.
Yeah, as part of your time management system, you should really put it in your calendar to address this thing on a periodic basis. But the bottom line is, if you can put things away immediately, whether it's in whatever folder that you're talking about there, that's going to help you out a whole lot. So that's one of the biggest points, is just to take a look at something, sort it, put it away immediately, and make sure you go back to the things that are pending periodically and throw things out if they're there too long. We all are victims of just hanging on to stuff for such a long time. And, I mean, one of the best things you can do if you're talking about your home, that closet full of clothes and shoes and everything else that's been piling up and piling up. So you got to start taking over your kids who've moved out closets. Go in there and clean things out. And one of the best things you can do is recycle things, donate them things to charity. The bottom line is there's a whole lot of charities out there, Goodwill and things like that you can donate things to. There are other nonprofits that'll pick things up from you. So if you can go through that and make a habit of doing that on a periodic basis, and even better, when you want to go out and buy new things, dispose of something before you buy something new to make room for it. I mean, these are little habits that you can get into when you're looking at things and say, do I really need this? And what can I do? You can do a whole lot of good with things that are hanging around your house that you never use anymore. And it's going to help out a lot of people who really need them.
All right. And when you look at something with that question, do I really need this? You have to be honest with yourself. I know I've done this. I know probably hundreds of other people who have done this. It's very common, where we will have things in our closet and our thought is, well, I'm going to wear that again when I lose the weight. Be honest. Are you ever really going to wear that again? By the time we lose the weight, it's gone out of style. It's, don't hold on to things because you're trying to get back to a certain point. When you hold on to clothes saying, okay, I'll wear that again when I lose the weight. Oh, I'll take up that hobby again when I have the time. Those are basically ways of saying you want to try to go back.
Yeah.
To really get organized, you have to focus on moving forward.
Yeah, the present moment and moving ahead. The bottom line is, if you do lose the weight, instead of putting on that 30-year-old pair of Sansa belts, you can buy something new and more stylish these days. So
right. So one of the things that's very important when you're organizing either your office or your home is having the right space, essentially. Whether it's file cabinets, whether it's hanging folders, whether it's stacking trays, whatever it is, you need to have the space to organize. And sometimes a lot of that is finding new ways to use those old things for more storage. I have old shelves that I used to use when I had a business of selling things at shows. So these were shelves that I could put together, take apart really quickly. Well, I don't do that anymore, so I didn't need those. But I could put those shelves together, put them up in my kitchen, and now I've got extra storage space in there. So be aware of what space you need and how you can get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can use as far as that go. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work out of my house, and I have like a corner desk unit that had a lot of space in the back that went up against the wall. And what I did is I went out and I bought a portable bookshelf to stick in the back there where nobody can see it, but it's got all my books in there. I got a calendar that I can look at from time to time. There's a lot of different things that you can do as far